Buckle up, gearheads. This isn't just a tariff tweak, it's a full-throttle crisis hitting Detroit where it hurts. Your roadmap to the latest in auto, welcome to Highway Herald, where we take you under the hood of the biggest industry shakeups with depth and drive. In early 2025, Trump's 25% tariff on vehicle imports from Mexico and Canada sent shockwaves through the auto world. General Motors, with nearly half its lineup built abroad, took the biggest hit. As Ford and Tesla hold steady, GM scrambles to respond. So what's next? Let's pop the hood and find out. GM's tariff tangle, under the microscope. There's no doubt, General Motors is under serious pressure. While Ford and Tesla have long prioritized US-based manufacturing, GM bet heavily on cross-border efficiency, leaning on plants in Canada and Mexico to streamline operations and cut costs. But in 2025's tariff-laden climate, that strategy now feels more like a trap than a triumph. Currently, 46% of GM's vehicles sold in the US are built outside the country. Major models like the Chevrolet Silverado, Equinox, and GMC Sierra, assembled across North American borders, are now hit with a 25% import tax. Analysts warn this could inflate sticker prices by up to $8,000 per vehicle, slashing profits and weakening GM's competitive edge. The market reacted swiftly. GM's stock tumbled 7% in a day, reflecting investor unease. CEO Mary Barra rolled out mitigation efforts, rerouting supply chains, sourcing locally, and increasing US output. But GM's supply chain is complex, with many components crossing borders multiple times, compounding costs and delays. Meanwhile, Ford, with just 21% import exposure, is far better positioned to weather this tariff storm with fewer bruises. But how exactly is GM planning to steer through this storm? Let's move into their two-pronged battle plan. Patch or pivot, GM's dual approach. Cornered by steep tariffs, General Motors is navigating a two-lane strategy: quick response triage and a long-term manufacturing transformation aimed at survival and success. The first step? Immediate action. GM's Fort Wayne, Indiana plant, home to the Silverado and Sierra, is heading into a temporary shutdown not to scale back, but to upgrade and expand. The plan includes hiring 225 to 250 new workers and bringing in additional temp staff to help absorb production volumes that were previously handled by Mexican and Canadian plants. It's a key move to bring operations back within US borders and blunt the impact of tariffs. Meanwhile, CFO Paul Jacobson is fine-tuning GM's supply chain operations like a pit crew on overdrive. That includes locking in stable domestic prices for steel and aluminum, renegotiating freight and logistics contracts, and outsourcing certain non-core functions to reduce strain. The ultimate goal? Reshoring. GM's 4 large plants in Mexico, once pillars of its global strategy, are now liabilities. Bringing production stateside will cost $59 billion and take years. It's a risky, complex gamble, but one GM believes it must take to stay competitive in America's new industrial era. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this, and keeps you in the driver's seat for the latest auto industry updates. Now, let's explore how Ford and GM are taking very different turns on this winding road. Rival roads, GM and Ford take different turns. Ford and GM are navigating the same tariff storm, but each with a very different grip on the road. Ford, led by CEO Jim Farley, has been vocal about the risks, warning that the 25% import tariff could devastate the US auto sector. With 80% of its vehicles built domestically, Ford enjoys a more stable position and is actively lobbying for exceptions, especially for key components like engines sourced from Mexico and Canada. Bill Ford even made a direct appeal in Washington, showcasing the company's political muscle, though permanent carve-outs remain elusive. GM, meanwhile, has taken a more diplomatic tone. CEO Mary Barra echoes support for reindustrializing America, but GM's deeper reliance on imports leaves it vulnerable. Nearly half of its US sales come from foreign-built models, making tariff impacts much harsher. Analysts believe Ford may escape with a few dents. GM, however, faces the risk of a full breakdown if its dual strategy, short-term fixes and long-term reshoring, fails to deliver. In this economic storm, it's a battle of margins, maneuvering, and manufacturing muscle, and the outcome could reshape Detroit's future. But tariffs aren't just causing battles between automakers. They're igniting an even bigger trade war. Let's dive into the heart of the tariff power play. Trade tensions and the tariff power play. President Trump's auto tariffs have sparked a high-stakes lobbying war in Washington, as industries from agriculture to retail, and especially automakers, scramble to secure exemptions. Critics argue the policy is less a surgical strike and more a sledgehammer, lacking nuance and potentially doing more harm than good. General Motors and Ford have both lobbied fiercely for relief. GM CEO Mary Barra emphasized that today's automotive production isn't simple offshoring. It's an integrated North American supply chain, where components like wiring harnesses may cross borders 3 or more times before final assembly. Trump, however, brushed off those concerns, claiming rising prices would encourage Americans to buy American. A temporary exemption for USMCA-compliant automakers ended on April 2nd, and without permanent clarity, manufacturers are stockpiling parts in anticipation of major disruptions. Some estimates suggest the tariffs could add $5,000 to $15,000 per imported vehicle, and even US-built models could see significant cost hikes. The UAW supports the move as a win for domestic jobs, but others warn it could choke off innovation and stall investment. As expert Sam Abuelsamid warns, blunt tools break engines. With the stakes this high, all eyes are on General Motors' bold next move. Let's see if their reshoring gamble can pay off. GM's make-or-break moment in America's manufacturing revival. The major question confronting General Motors is whether it can truly reshore its production to the US, and do so without stalling out. GM's Mexican operations are enormous, generating more than 700,000 vehicles annually across key plants in Ramos Arizpe, Silao, San Luis Potosi, and Toluca. Flagship models like the Equinox, with over 234,000 units produced in 2024 alone, and a significant portion of GM's electric vehicle (EV) output depend on these facilities. Relocating that volume to the US is no easy feat. Even with a $59 billion commitment to domestic manufacturing and EV infrastructure, many analysts believe GM may fall short of replicating Mexico's scale, speed, or cost efficiency. And this shift is happening as the company simultaneously retires its gas-powered lineup in favor of EVs. To bridge the gap, GM is maximizing existing US operations, like its Fort Wayne plant, by hiring temporary workers and ramping up shifts. But these are stopgap measures. Meanwhile, Tesla, Rivian, Hyundai, and Toyota are already expanding US production aggressively. GM's next steps won't just shape its future. They could define the future of American auto manufacturing. Now that we've seen the scale of GM's gamble, it's time for the final pit stop, where it all comes together. GM's all-in gamble on American soil. General Motors is making a bold, high-stakes move, racing against tariffs and political pressure to reshape its global supply chain into a US-based manufacturing powerhouse. While short-term strategies like boosting domestic production may ease some of the burden, the real test lies in GM's $59 billion bet on long-term transformation. It's a costly and complex gamble that could either revive American auto dominance or backfire under pressure. Now, the questions loom. Can GM truly bring it all back home? Will customers accept higher prices? And will investors stick with the company through this turbulent pivot? So, what do you think? Is GM's reshoring effort a smart move or a desperate scramble? Will tariffs really boost US manufacturing or simply inflate costs? As a buyer, would you pay more for a vehicle built under these new pressures? If you found this video insightful, be sure to subscribe to Highway Herald for the latest vehicle updates and in-depth analyses. Your support helps us bring you the best in automotive content. Please leave a comment below to start a conversation. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.